I am so freaking enthusiastic for my next guest. Like I've not. I'm kissing my hands. I am so lucky. I'm asking these moguls to be on this little ass podcast show of little ass me. And I was like, hey, there's a country director of Google. That's amazing. Like, let's see. So I texted him on LinkedIn, and I was like, yeah, probably I'll get one of those 999 no's again. But he was courageous enough to say yes. So it is my pleasure to very humbly introduce to you my next guest of today. No one else than Thierry Geerts. He's country director, or was, I don't know how the transitioning there is going, of Google, Belgium and Netherlands. Thank you so much. You're a very brave man. Why did you say yes?
Because you had the guts to ask for it, and I think everything starts with an ambition, and you had the right story, and I'm happy to share experience and hope that people can get inspired. And so yes, I have to say no quite sometimes, but sometimes it's somebody with another angle and another question of enough guts, and that's why I'm here.
Oh man, that really, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm very humbled. So as you know, I'm doing a research on like success, like what is it that drives success, why people get pushed for success. I noticed that a lot of things start with youth. So could you explain a little bit, and we'll explore it together a little bit, like where your ambitions started, like how did your youth come to fruition?
Yeah, it's a very broad question. Why do
super
people
broad,
have
super broad,
success,
super
and how
broad.
do we define success? So I was definitely lucky in my youth to have, first of all, two well-educated parents that always stimulated us. You know, there was no absolute clear guideline. It was a bit chaotic, and we were very autonomous. And with no pressure. There was no pressure that you absolutely had to do something. But that's a bit fake because they were two medical doctors, indirectly you have the pressure to also go for university. But they never pushed us to do something. On the opposite, my father, biggest wish was to have one of his sons being a plumber. Because because he really believes it's a nice, thing to do. One of his best friends was a plumber, so there is a very broad education, very open. We learned different languages. We were put in not the illiterate school, more general school, good schooling, but more popular. And I think that made us, in a way, to first of all be more inclusive, because we were in more inclusive schools. And because we were left autonomous, we were also obliged to take our own responsibility. I had no parents asking to study that many hours a day, but they were there to see that it was successful. But the way I was going there was very open, and I think that's important. Obviously, it's working better with children that have good results. Then when you get a kid with very complicated schooling, then you have to help him or her. But I see also parents with good studying kids that are controlled, checked, helped, and right. We were like, okay.
So you said something really interesting. So you had a lot of freedom, you said, to make your own decisions, but you said something like, yeah, my two parents were medical doctors, so we kind of got pushed into it. Does that mean that there was kind of a self-created shadow there, or how can I see it? What was it that pushed you to do the university because they were medical doctors?
Yeah, it's your, when you live in, let's say, in the sport world, you have your parents in doing sports, athletes. Your goal will, without him telling whatever, you will go for more sports, and you will, in a way, try to make a world record. Yeah. On that side, I have no ambition, because my parents were not doing sports, so I was not educated with sports, so I didn't do that. And I still do no sports. But you are surrounded with people that have a degree, a kind, whatever. Then immediately that's your reference, yeah. And that's why I say I'm really have received some gifts, but I'm also lucky to be educated in that environment. The same me living in another neighborhood with other parents wouldn't be so lucky.
No. Yeah.
And I think the only thing is to recognize it. I have had the chance to have this education, skills, and thanks to that I'm successful. That's giving me a responsibility, for example, to be present today, because having the chance gives you also the responsibility to do something with it.
Interesting. Yeah. That's an interesting take. All right. Yeah, it's a little bit like the nature nurture thing that is going on for like a lot of years, and now finally
I had the chance to have both. I was born with brains, quite efficient brains, but I was also born in an environment where this kind of brains could flourish. And so yes, I worked hard and I did many things, but I never have to forget that I was privileged in that way.
Okay, you said something super interesting that I recognize a little bit. You said something about like you were giving the chance, and because of the chance, I've got the responsibility to do that. Like, I understand what you mean. I'm very lucky to have been born. My grandfather was CEO of General Motors Benelux, to give you an idea. So great guy. I was very young, sadly, when he passed away, so we didn't have that many business discussions. But I was, lucky in the sense of IQ-wise, very lucky. And I also feel a very big responsibility to do something with that. Now, the interesting thing is, like, that's a completely self-created sense of responsibility. Because, like, purpose of life kind of thing, the only purpose of life is the purpose that we give ourselves to it. So what is it that made you feel responsible for taking the most out of that chance?
Well, I think that's very human. As human, you want to, the Maslow, you want to go from the first thing you need is food and safety. And then once you have the basic things, then you can start to build social relationships, family. And then at the end, you want to have a self-fulfillment. You want to become something or someone in society, which can be very various. It's not one story, it's a very various thing. And that fulfillment is based on your environment. And what is fulfillment is based on what you are, but also how you are. There's a stupid materialistic story, but it's a true one. Humans tend to be happy if they live in a neighborhood where they have a car which is a bit more expensive than their neighbors. Mm-hmm. So if you have a BMW Model 3 and you live in a poor neighborhood, you feel the king of the town. You have the same car, but you're in a neighborhood with all the people having a BMW number 5, you feel like the small little one. So, and that's very human. It's you compare yourself. Because you're a social beast, you compare yourself. And so if you are in an environment challenge you to get further in studying, you will automatically have this social pressure that nobody's telling you. Nobody is, definitely in case of my parents, they did no external pushing, but only the fact that your frame is like that, you go for that frame. And that's why people, for example, living in for generation with people that are unemployed, have a difficulty to think about something else in their life than to be unemployment, because there is something that is pushing you down or up. You can also break out of that system, but it's always harder if you have to break out of the system than you are already in that in that system. And so if you look at startups, for example, in Belgium, it's looking cool from the outside, but in a lot of cases, it's our people all from a very good neighborhood environment, because they have the luxury to test things, and the parents, they pay for their living, etc. Or the opposite, some startups are from people that have nothing, so they have to try something. Otherwise, they have nothing. Yeah.
Understandable. Understandable. Yeah. I had a very interesting discussion with someone recently about the fact that especially with raising kids, like so much of that systematic is like subconscious. Like we get taught so much more subconsciously. Like as parents, I'm not gonna say we because I have no kids, but like parents try to teach virtues to their kid, teach stuff like consciously, which is all fine, but that's like 20%, and then the other 80%, I'm just pushing numbers there, is like completely subconscious. So it's really nice that you go into there. Okay, so you look at these at your amazing parents, and you're like, okay, I want to go study. What made you go for commercial engineer? What was the reason?
Almost luck. So because I was in a medical environment, the first idea was to go for medical doctor. Except that 6 months before to start as medical doctor, I thought, well, I'm not sure I want to do this. And that's because of some conversations. So I found out that I didn't want to become a medical doctor 6 months before to have to start. And then no clue about something else, because my life was only, I knew a hospital and nurses and giving blood, but I knew nothing about companies, I knew nothing about management, nothing, nada. And so I was lost, because that was the only track I ever thought of. And then a friend of my brother was doing a commercial engineer, and we had a conversation, and he said, well, I will show you what I'm doing. And so I went to his place, we looked at what he was studying, and it was like, whoa, this is like the honey, what do you call that? The honey pot, this is that seems really interesting. And I started to do that, and I felt exactly in what I wanted to do. And that's another thing. The question is it luck? It is an opportunity that needs a preparation. I was prepared, I was open for things, and I had somebody showing me an opportunity. I could not have grabbed it, but I decided to grab the opportunity and go that way. But I'm very thankful to that one person that showed me that way. And that's, I think, the problem in Belgian education. Because Belgian education is very traditional and very conservative, very qualitative, but it's not made to discover talent. It's not made to make you think about what you want to do in the future. It's giving everyone a base knowledge, like a pile of knowledge. And then, you know what, after that, it's your problem. I think that's wrong. I think that's really wrong.
It's trying to teach a fish to climb in a tree, or trying to a monkey trying to swim in the river, kind of thing. 100%.
And you will always remain an idiot. And I think it's a cartoon I love to use.
I wonder if it's only in Belgium though.
Let's talk about it, because it's exactly that. I see so many young people that are sometimes lost for society because they are bad at school. They're not bad at school. They are bad in that school, about that schooling system. Maybe they have to be in another school or in another direction. And, two of my kids were supposed to be really not really capable at school, and became, well, they are really doing high study now with a very qualitative way. So, but they had to find their own way. It's not normal. They lost so many time, so many frustration. And that's why I'm supporting Molengeek, for example. Molengeek is taking and B-Codes. There are two schools that are taking people that are supposed dropouts, stopped school, did the wrong thing, and then can do a rerouting in their career, 9 months, a year training in a coaching system, not in a traditional system. And then those people find a job, are passionate, and are succeeding. So in 9 months' time, you can really change your life.
Passion being the key word. I find like a lot of my friends have a quarter life crisis. Everyone speaks about midlife crisis. I think quarter life crisis, I don't know if it's a thing, but it should be a thing. Like, you know, like 20 something, like, I don't know what to do in life. Oh my God. I don't know if you're lucky because like also like it's a chicken and egg kind of story, like luck and hard work. Hard work makes luck, and like what comes first, you know, the results because of the hard work that creates the luck or whatever. But you were like lucky or not. Let's not put a frame on it to find your passion kind of early. It seems. Were you directly like, hey, yeah, this I see myself in 30, 40 years later. Well, yeah, 30 years later, like, hey, at a head of a company somewhere in, you know, Google kind of thing, or is that
No.
something that kind of grew?
And, you know, I found that that what I could learn seems interesting, but I had still no clue what a general manager would be. So you had your
Okay.
grandfather being a general manager of Opel. I had nobody around me being a manager, whatever. Lawyers, plumbers, medical people, but no one in the business. So I started to do that, and I had quite a hard time because I didn't know what an invoice was, and so I had to learn really everything. And when I finished my studies, it was successful, it was super interesting, but I had no clue where to start. And so I had to do it over. I talked to people to say, any idea what I have to do after my study? And then one guy said to me, well, you know, if you don't know, you can start in the big four audit companies, because then you learn to balance a balance sheet and a P&L, and you will always need that. And I thought,
True.
okay,
True.
let's do that. So you see, but I was open for a conversation. But then something happened at that moment. I did a lot of scouting when I was young. And by the way, I think that what is more important by university, because doing scouting, you learn working with people when you're very young.
You mean scouting, Boy Scouts?
Boy Scouts, yeah, Boy Scouting.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Boy
Yeah,
Scouting.
yeah.
So it's not what you put on your CV, but it's in fact what made my CV was being a Boy Scout. Because what happens is when you are only 11 years old, you become responsible for a little group of kids. Your small, how you call that, group. It doesn't mean that much, but at that age, it means a lot. You're responsible. And then afterwards, you really learn to lead people, to work with people, and it's something that you don't learn in university. You learn that.
Yeah, soft skills are like also, I think soft skills are going to be more and more important, especially with technology advancing as it is. Like, you know.
And then I found out that I had another talent, because I was not very, how would I say that? I was not sporty at all. It was rather a small guy, you know, very thin. And so I was not the cool guy on the block. So when I was at school, when there was some football or something like that, I was always the bad guy. Nobody would choose me for his team. So I was intelligent, but I didn't have this thing to be successful with friends. But at the bout scouting, it appears that I tend to be successful in leading people. That I had something to bring the people together and to do something together. So I was quite successful in scouting. And that gave me some self-assurance that I didn't have at that moment, to be clear. I was very shy and not convinced at all that I would succeed in whatever. But that scouting gave me some confidence.
What age are we talking now that you felt insecure about achieving anything?
Well, you know, when you're growing up, you are 14 years old and you're not the cool kid on the block. You're a bit smaller than the others. You're a bit bizarre because you're a bit nerdy. You're a bit on the side. Yeah, that's not ideal for your self-confidence, let's say.
True.
The cool girls are going after your friends, not after yourself. Yeah, you are the friend of those girls, but that's it. It's not a disaster. It's not that I was successful on everything and I had a fantastic. No. I was a bit on the side in school, but this scouting gave me a lot of self-confidence and made me. Then when I understood what a business was and I understood my scouting and my moment in time, I said, I want to become a general manager. When I understood what a general manager was, I understood that was what I want to do. Not being a specialist in something, but being the general manager, the CEO. It was not called the CEO at that moment in time, but being a leader. I understood that it was maybe useful to become a leader.
Okay.
And that my talent would probably be at that. And so that drove me my first career choices. Not to become a CFO. Also, I started in the audits, what is pushing you through finance. And then after 2 years, I said, whoa, and now I need to do sales, because if I want to have a general manager thing, I need to understand everything. And so I pushed myself out of that, which is very uncomfortable, to a sales job. And I started to do sales. So that's what is making a certain moment in time that you become a leader. You have some talents, you do some hard work, but also you make some deliberate choices that is bringing you in that direction.
Okay. Yeah, you clearly had an end in mind, which is fabulous. Stephen Covey writes about it. So you discovered your talent. Is the fact that is your decision to like, hey, I'm gonna become a general manager, is that based on the talents you had, or are there more compartments that were involved with you choosing to be like, hey, I decide that I'm gonna be a general manager one day?
It's a combination, because you have that talent, you're good at it, then you are receiving more leadership. So then when I was with a group of friends, I end up being the leader. Yeah, although I was not the big muscle guy and not the cool kid on the block, I end up leading some groups of friends because I was good in organizing things, for example. Yeah, so when you had those groups doing activities, whatever, organizing a party, for example, I was the one organizing the thing, bringing the people together and organizing a party. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But so it's a combination, because you are good at it, you start to be pushed by your environment in that direction, and then you get some more experience. And the only thing that I did when I finished university was having that diploma. You're nothing with that. But having met people, it's useful, but it's more like a paper you need, but it's not learning you what you need to do after that. But understanding that was something that I was loving to take the lead in a certain, because everyone wants to be the boss, but it's not comfortable to be the boss. Everyone wants to be a CEO, blah, blah, blah.
When it goes good, the whole team is yay, and when it goes bad, it's your freaking fault.
The shit doesn't go down. The shit goes up. When you're CEO, you receive all the shit. You're the shit solver. Yeah. And the
spotlight is for your team members. So.
And so I see a lot of people that want to become a CEO, but that are not real CEOs. And when they're there, they're uncomfortable. They're sometimes very unhappy. They do it for the status or for the money, but they tend to be uncomfortable with this shit coming up. Yeah. I tend to get excited solving problems.
Okay.
And then inspire the people to work with me to solve them. But that's something that it's post-rationalization. So I can explain this now, but it's not that I was so well aware of that when I started. If you would ask me when I was 25, are you a shit solver? I would have said no. And the answer is yes. Yeah.
Okay. And do you kind of remember like what your thoughts or what your processes were on this when you were 25?
Well, exactly what I said. I want to become a general manager. Why do I become a general manager? Because
I'm good at it.
When I was finishing university, starting in the audit, I started to understand what a manager was. And then I thought, oh, that's the copy of what I did about scouting and with my friends.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see the video model. And then I think, and that was a very deliberate choice. What do I need to do as the next step if that's my objective?
Yeah, all right. So that's actually really very goal driven. That's kind of nice. What were your influences back then? Like how did you like, okay, you get your decision, I want to be a general manager. Were you like, I want to be a general manager anywhere? Or were you quite like, hey, I do have an ambition to one day be in an SP 500 kind of company
No,
or?
Anywhere of any kind of organization. So I had no clue what I wanted to do. I just wanted to become a general manager. Because I was not aware of all sectors. You know, it's when you're 25, well, first of all, Google didn't exist at that moment in time, so it was impossible to push yourself. It was nowhere near. You know, it was nowhere near. It took 10 years before that Google was started. I was good in IT programming, those kind of things. So it was a part. I was interested in IT. But I didn't decide to do a career on IT. I always used IT and I was very involved in IT projects, but I didn't decide that one. So I want to become a general manager, whatever company. And my second role was in an industrial laundry.
Industrial laundry.
Yeah,
that
industrial
sounds
laundry. Yeah.
very sexy.
So it's not something that you have as a kid. You don't dream to become an industrial laundry guy. Yeah. But I was in the finance, I wanted to do sales, and I received an offer for an industrial laundry to become a sales manager. So I said, I will go for the laundry business. Yeah.
Was there a lot of dirty talk during that period?
Tons of dirty things to solve.
Tons of dirty things.
Every week, tons. So really. And then what's interesting is that because it's a sector that is not very sexy, you tend to be that guy that is going to that sector, and that is an exception. You know, if you go to work for McKinsey, all those guys are brilliant with brilliant studies. Yeah. When you go to work for an industrial laundry, you're probably the only one as commercial engineer, and then you have some engineers working in the factory, and you have some textile engineers. But you are the exception. And so there were quite some people working, and I was, let's say, an exception. So I could be better than the others, and I became a general manager when I was 27.
Oh, 27, general manager.
27. Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
That's,
so 100 people in an industrial laundry, and
how?
So you
Wait. Sorry. I'm gonna. How unqualified were you at that moment?
Interesting, because I was talking a lot about that. It gave me a lot of stress, to be clear, because I wanted to cheat, and I obviously was not. When I was successful, but I was, underqualified to do the job. But it appears that I became an excellent general manager in the laundry business. Why? Because those guys were knowing far more than I did on the laundry business. That was fine.
Yeah.
It was specialists on everything. You know, the thing was running. But this was a bit old school. It was a bit like, no ambition anymore. And then you have this young guy saying, guys, we're going to make it. We're going to start growing. We're going to innovate. And I was based on their knowledge, but I was the leader. And by the way, some managers from 55 years old accepted me as their leader.
Yeah, I get it.
It was not in one day. It took me some, the first weeks were tough.
Probably.
Definitely, because I was a sales manager and I became the boss above the others. So some old guys said, well, what? I could have done the job. And then at that moment in time, you have to work hard.
Yeah.
Unbelievably hard. And I started to do laundry business study in the evening. So I went to school, back to school in the evening, working very hard during the day, and then in the evening going to a laundry course, which is not exactly what you are planning for when you start to do your career.
No, true.
So it was an amazing school for me, but I was also successful because I could.
Okay. I wanna dig a little bit deeper because I think there's some very interesting mechanics going on here. So you're 27. You get your first general manager job, which is crazy. You get some 54-year-olds, which is like, how the hell am I gonna tell these guys what to do? We live in a society where it's like bottom from down.
Yeah.
Like respect comes with age and whatnot. Pure bullshit, if you ask me. Anyway, you were keen on succeeding. You were keen. You had a very high intrinsic motivation because you go to do your studies. What's driving you at this point to make it a success?
I think it's not a question. You don't ask yourself, will that be a success? There is a fantastic sentence. I did it because I didn't know it was impossible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's
So
like,
I was like in a certain moment in time, you are successful as a sales manager. They need a general manager. There is the CEO of the group deciding that you are the guy, and you do it. You don't think about it. I would now, if I would be more hesitant now than I was at that moment in time. You're young. You're just taking the challenge, and you don't even imagine you could fail. That's it.
Okay.
It's
Understandable. One thing that really fascinates me is like, so you've got on this one hand like, hey, I'm gonna like I'm not even thinking of failing. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
But mostly you do have those days that you're like, fuck, it's all going to shit.
Yeah.
Like that's superhuman,
Yeah.
How do you deal during that time with those days? Because like there is a lot of weight on your shoulders. There's a lot of things weighing on you. You are the leader. You've known now that leading groups that it's like all the problems come up. You feel that a lot. Like how are you dealing and coping with like the fuck, I'm not gonna make it kind of days?
I never accept the idea I will never make it kind of day. Yeah? You never miss a full day.
Okay.
So you have a problem in a day.
Yeah.
But you will always do good things and more difficult things.
Yeah.
Have the talent to be able to get in front of a big problem.
Yeah.
Trying to manage it. But then if somebody else is entering I have a meeting half an hour later, and another person is coming in my office, that person will not see in any way that I was in the shit half an hour before that. So I recharge myself because I have this next meeting.
Okay.
And the reason is, I think that this new person, that not aware of anything, doesn't deserve that I'm at bad humor because I've just missed something. Yeah. So I just reboot myself in respect for this new person. So I have a deep respect for people.
Yeah, but the thing is, that feeling doesn't go away. So you're holding it back, you're locking it up, so that that next person doesn't see it, but it's chipping at you. No?
No. Well,
it doesn't chip at you at all. Like every night, you never have like at night that you're like, oh shit, yeah, how am I gonna do this?
I sleep very well, and I always slept very well.
Interesting, yeah.
I think I only slept, my bad nights were the night before I had to lay off people. There is only one thing that is really affecting me, is when you have to lay off somebody. I think that's something that's, I don't know how people can do that. Like, I don't mind, I fire 10 people, whatever. And if you're the leader, you have to fire people. That's part of the shit job. But that's the part that I find really, really, really hard. Well, I do it when I need to do it. I do it, but I always have it by night before. But I can have a big problem with customers. You know what? You're never completely alone. That's also a thing that I cannot work alone. I need to work in an organization where there are more people, and so I think you're never completely alone. You are the end responsibility. So at the end, the shit is on your table, but you're not alone.
Yeah.
You have a commercial director to deal with customers. We have a production guy to deal with the production issues. So yes, I can really put that aside. I'm a radical optimist. Yeah?
That's some very high emotional intelligence, if you ask me.
But radical optimist is not a naive guy. It's not that I believe that everything will go, but I believe in a positive outcome.
if I work hard for it, if I put
Yeah.
the effort in it, it's like we were talking about Harari's book before, and I think he wrote in *Sapiens* or a thing like that there's like, or it could be someone else. I don't know anymore where I get it from, but that there's like a baseline of serotonin in people's bodies, and that depending on the baseline of serotonin, they can be like more of like, hey, I'm gonna fix it, and they get to recharge faster, which would make it a biological trait in some sense, going back to the nature-nurture thing. So that's pretty exciting.
I really think that the people are unbelievably resilient. Yeah? But it depends on their mindset.
Yeah. 100%.
So look at the Corona crisis. We succeeded. We went through it. And in Belgium we had some casualties, and that's always a problem. But in general, we unbelievably succeeded. We did crazy things. We were locking down people for months, and we succeeded. So people are resilient, but they need to believe that they can solve the problem.
Yeah.
And that's how I did best. We can have together, we can build an image, which can be a logo, a company, a god, whatever. Yeah. So I tend not to believe in God, but in humanity. But I so much believe in humanity that when there is a problem, I will always show the future solving that problem. How big the problem is. When there is a big problem, I love the fact, if to eat an elephant, cut it in pieces. So you have a big sheet coming up. Yeah. What I do is I cut it in pieces, and I find a way to solve it by one, and find people to say, hey, that problem you can solve. You can eat that ear from the elephant. Yeah. Oh yes, that I can do. Yeah. And I think that leaders are obliged to be optimists, because it's the only way. If you want to lead people, you want to solve problems, you want to develop your business, you want to lead a country, whatever, you can even do that in a family business. If you don't believe that you can solve problems, then it's going south by definition. Yeah, and you can screw up a very good company, or you can solve a very complicated company only by having this collective image of what you will do.
I think it's easier to inherit a good running company than to inherit it's easy to let a good company keep on functioning than really resolve a bad functioning company.
No,
if that makes sense.
I don't want to take a job of the ideal manager with a good running company. I tend not to like that. I'm almost always took jobs that were shitty, complicated situations, and that's far more fun, because for example, you want to succeed. You are the successor of Steve Jobs. Yeah, I think that's hell. It's kind of
big shadow. That's a big shadow.
Yeah, it's a good big shoes to fill. Yeah, that's a problem. But if they would call me to do something to Apple, I would say, no, you know what? There's nothing to win. There's nothing to solve. Yeah, that's not my. Yeah, other people that are good at that. I'm not good at that.
But what? So because that's interesting. Because what are you doing at Google then?
When I started at Google, it was not an easy-going, evident job.
Okay.
First of all, it was a very small, with 12 people in Belgium, and secondly, there were quite some issues.
Yeah.
Because it was not managed for some years. There were some legal issues. Not really motivated team. It was not an easygoing job. As it's after that, now when you look at it, it's like, yeah, obviously, I refused that job. By the way, first when they offered me that job, I refused it first. Okay. Because I was, had to manage 12 people there in a little sales house in Brussels. Maybe not. But then I started to understand the challenge, and I thought, that can be interesting. So I believe it's more interesting for a leader. Interesting. It's not easier. It's interesting. More interesting.
Yeah.
To take a company that is struggling in any way, and then to give back to people, give hope to people, and solve it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Maybe my thing was a little bit short-sighted. I feel like you're very challenge-driven. Like you're very like you really want to solve things. Is this because of the satisfaction you get from it, or like what is it that for you makes it so nice and sexy to solve challenges and to go at them head on?
There are so many reasons for that. At Google, we used to say you have to be uncomfortably excited. Yeah, when you are doing your daily routine, yeah, that's comfortable, that's nice, but you don't get excited for that. So if you challenge yourself and you say, I will go for a new job, we will push the target higher, then you get excited. And you have to be a bit uncomfortably excited. So not an easy challenge, a bit an uncomfortable one. You have to go too high and you're sure that you will get it. And then I think then you feel that you're a human. You have to fight for something. Yeah? I think there's a problem in our society today. We don't have to fight for anything.
Yeah.
Oh, well, not everyone. There are people who have to fight. But in general, in Flanders, the people have food, they have a house, they don't have to fight for something. And then they start to have all kinds of problems. They complain about everything. The people complain in Belgium because of the tax rate and the weather and the mobility. But we live in one of the best areas in the world. Yeah,
I don't necessarily think that the complaining. I think that the complaining is like, first of all, an overall thing with humans. It's easy to complain because it's like, hey, complaining about something is not trying to push yourself further, and our brain is just made to preserve energy for when the tiger attacks us. So that. But like the part of growth is super interesting. And that actually brings us to the thing that we went on a little bit before, but I forgot to jump into it, like the mindset part. I feel like we've got so much in our control. Like I feel like our brain is our supercomputer and works for us. But I feel, in general, a lot of things. What happens is that we start working for our brain. If you know what I mean there. So I'm meaning like, rain, it isn't good or bad, it's just rain. But our brain decides to be like, hey, this is bad, I'm getting wet. Yeah, okay, but my flowers are getting very green and we've got a lot of food. Like I think, and I'm not sure about this, I'm really not sure, but I think rain is one of the things why first world countries are first world countries. Rain equals plants equals food.
Yeah.
So how do you see that okay, so you've got this mindset of like, hey, I need to challenge things, I need to grow. Is it always like, does it always come natural and super easy like you're saying, or like are there also moments that are like, okay, I really need to reframe my mind a little bit here?
It's never easy. It's uncomfortable. Yeah, but once you start doing it, it gives you more satisfaction. It's a more interesting human adventure. People tend to follow you because you want to do something special. There are two reasons for that. First of all, nature is growing. In general, nature is growing. A tree is growing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but our brain is pushing us to do nothing. If we could stay still and do nothing, the brain would say, be safe, don't do anything. But that's not the natural place. The natural place is grow.
That's why we have greed. That's why we have greed.
So you have to decide to find a way to grow, and grow can be intellectually. It doesn't have to be money at all, but it's something.
Yeah.
And so that's why I tend to work with moonshots. You know this story of moonshots?
Moonshots? No, never heard of it.
Kennedy in 1960. Kennedy said, we will go to the moon. Yeah?
Yeah.
We will not go to the moon because it's easy. It goes to the moon because it's complicated. Because we will have to work together. We have to challenge ourselves. And because it's complicated, we will succeed, we will go to the moon. To be honest, he had no clue how to go to the moon. He had just enough information that if he would have this ambition, it could happen. Yeah? Not knowing exactly how, but it could happen. Guess what? It happened. Yeah? before the end of the decade, they went to the moon. And he said literally, US will go, before the end of the decade, we will go to the moon. And they went to the moon because this was the moonshot. And the moonshot idea is to push, to have something ambitious that seems a bit unrealistic, but feasible, that makes other people start working on it. And because you believe it, you succeed in it. Yeah? And so, because of that dream and this ambition of the president, companies started to innovate, subsidies were rearranged in that direction, NASA was created, and finally they went to the moon. But this idea of moonshot you can use for daily life. If you have kids, imagine you have 3 kids, and you are doing nothing with the kids, and it's raining, and you're inside, they start to fight with each other. They start to fight. You know, that's how kids are. If you say, we go outside and we will build a house in the woods, even if it's raining, they will feel it like uncomfortable, they don't know how to do it, but you put a raincoat, you start to build that thing, they will build a brilliant house in the woods, they will have fun for days, maybe for months, because afterwards they will go into that wood house. But somebody, the leader, has to say, we are going to build a house in the wood. Yeah. But it can be a house in the wood or going to the moon. But it can work for an everyday thing. And by framing that, I think leaders have to, in their daily life, framing little moonshots. Yeah. Pushing people a bit further. Yeah. Because they will be a bit uncomfortable, but excited. Yeah. Because of that, you will have some successes. And you show success, then people love success. They will be proud of the success. That will make them bigger. They will learn. They will work together. Because to build that house in the woods, the kids have to work together. They cannot fight. They have to work together. Yeah, true. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Yeah. And so the same thing in the company. If you don't have any strategy for a company, then you have problems with your unions. The people are complaining on everything. And you go down the drain. If you say, you know what, we are making more profit, the people will say, you know what, it's not my profit. So that's not a good moonshot. It's not a good moonshot to say we will make more profit, because people will not be excited making more profit.
No intrinsic.
That's only for the boss, that the profit is increasing of the shareholders. So you have to find something else. So if you say, for example, for Google, we will index the world's information and make it available for everyone and useful. Yeah. That's something that people say, what? That's a crazy idea. Yeah. But that's interesting. And because the CEO seems to understand how that could be possible, people tend to say, I want to work for that company. And for 25 years, it was a moonshot for Google. And it's still a moonshot because we're not there yet. We're still working at making that happen. But that created the Google. Yeah. It was not a business plan. It was not profit. It was an ambitious idea. But the technology was almost there, not completely. It was not completely possible. It was only possible in a paper that Larry Page wrote. But it was enough to excite people.
I think there's one of the even better examples in history is the Wright brothers. Like Washington D.C. was trying to build a plane with very high-paid scientists, and then the Wright brothers, out of their freaking garage with zero funding, zero money, they won the race.
Yeah.
So
And so Yahoo was a very rich company. Google had no money, and they did it. Google did it. So the Wright brothers was Larry Page for the internet.
Yeah. Yahoo, really? It still exists. Microsoft bought them, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, all right, super cool. I'm very interested because like we're hearing like a lot of things that are driving you to go like as we confirmed, like you're really challenge oriented, like you really like to solve problems. What are things that sometimes hold you back a little bit? Like what are the things that you have to conquer internally to be able to keep growing? What are the things that like, okay, I'm uncomfortable with this, but is it like what motivates you to do it? Is it because like you're like, hey, if I'm 80, I'm gonna repent myself, or Is it like I've got something to prove, or like where does that how does that work with you?
I am what they call an insecure overachiever.
Interesting. Yes.
So you see me and you hear me now being the big story of the big leader of the industrial laundry, blah blah blah, an optimist, etc. But I'm very much more insecure than you would think. Yeah, and so I want to overachieve. I want always to do better than. I want to do better. I want to be better.
Yeah.
But I'm also very insecure, so I always think, well, I'm not sure I will get there, but is it credible that I will do that? I feel a bit like I have a bit the imposter syndrome. You know, is it good enough? Is it okay? I have these new crazy ideas. My God, what will they think about it? So that it's in a way I'm very motivated by that, and I do it. But it's always something holding me back to say, "Come on, guys, stop! You have done enough moonshots. You are pushing your team too far."
Where does that insecurity come from? You think? Like, is that something from long time ago? Like.
Oh yes, I definitely think so. I was the little one in the family. Yeah. And the problem of that family is that we were all successful. So we had two brothers older than me. One civil engineer and one medical doctor. Yeah. And you are the last one. So the little one, you are a bit shy, a bit clunky, a bit nerdy, and not as intelligent as my two brothers. Yeah.
Ooh, that's hard to admit.
No, that's 100% sure. Yeah, and definitely not as intelligent as my two parents. So well equipped compared to the outside world, probably over-equipped, but compared to my own living.
In your own space, you're like the underdog.
I was the underdog. It seems bizarre, and I say that with a lot of humility, but that's the case.
That makes it competitive. That's like I understand where the competitiveness then comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
It appears that I had another talent, which brought me further than all the others, which was that leadership, empathy, those kind of things. But that was not valued in the family environments. It was
very rational family.
Very rational. Absolutely no emotion. Very rational. Intellectual. The discussion at the table were about Napoleon and Latin words and sentences, and I was always like, I'm not sure I get it. My father was almost crazy, speaking 12 languages and
only 12? No.
only 12. Russian, Chinese, Sanskrit, whatever. And so that's bizarre to tell at the outside world, but that was my reality. Being surrounded by a bit awkward, very intelligent people, and being the least intelligent of that group.
Yeah, that's I call it, and I don't know where it got from. Probably it's not an original thing, but like a little slave driver, always trying to you because you want to, prove yourself that I am worthy to be, Very interesting mechanism, I think. And also, by the way, something that a lot of high achievers actually have in common, like the insecurity. It's really interesting because there's like a paradoxical kind of working that on the one hand there's like superiority, like, hey, I work hard, I am pretty smart, and I can do it better than you. But on the other hand, there's also paradoxically am I good enough? Like, am I gonna be able to pull it off? And it's such an internal conflict. Like, very, very, very interesting. Okay,
I think
very
that's from a lot of leaders. Insecure, a need of recognition. That's definitely
wanting to be loved. Also, I think, like, the need of love. Like, every human needs to be loved. But I think with great leaders,
it's sometimes
they want to be even loved more.
Yeah, and that's a dangerous one, because if you want to be loved, you don't take the right decisions, because you think then you become a kind of populist as a leader instead of being a good leader, and that's a very dangerous one. And so that's the one that you have really to be aware of. if you have that in your personality, you really have to be aware of that and correct.
Yeah, 100%.
So a bit of a security is good because that makes you less arrogant and a bit relativating. But if you want to be loved, that's a very dangerous one.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna dominate the world until my last company went bankrupt, and I was like, okay, I'm human after all. Oh man, that was very tough.
Yeah.
What are super interesting. What are like if you look at your career now, like yeah, ups and downs. Of course, we've been talking a lot about the ups. What are like some of the downs that you want and you're willing to share, that you're like, hey, I'm really proud that I got over this, or this got it, and it was really, I really had to fight for this one, and it took some grit, it took some courage, it took some some tears maybe even, but I got through it. Like anything like that really sticks out.
Well, there were obviously very, very difficult moments. For example, when I was at Google in 2016, there was the attacks in Brussels, where at the end of the street, so the Maalbeek metro station is the station that we were using as an office. So hearing about the attacks in the morning and then really counting your employees to be sure that you find everyone was probably the most dramatic moment in my career. And some people didn't charge their smartphone during the nights, and so were impossible to join.
I'm going to challenge you a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm going to challenge you a little bit. This is external, so I'm talking more internal. So fears that yourself had about your I know this is a very tough subject, and if you don't want to answer it, I completely agree, It's super tough. Like anything of those, like, we were talking about the imposter syndrome. Like, are there moments that you really were like, I don't know, feeling the heaviness of it and still were able to push through it, or that doesn't really sound recognizable?
Well, first of all, I think that's I try to forget. Yeah, I really consciously, and that has a family thing. We tend to forget the negative things to go further. We had some difficulties in family life, and then we tend to say, you know what, we go forward. But there is one thing that I could share, that may be interesting when I struggled a lot. I'm now telling the story about changing from the PwC to an industrial laundry, and then when I quit the laundry, I went to the media business because I wanted to learn on the internet, and then I went to Google. That's how the things are done. And each time I make a conscious choice. So I want to be uncomfortably excited. I have to challenge myself, and I did those choices. And I really say I reinvented myself. But the first months, in every case, I really thought to myself, what did I do? I was silly. I was in a very comfortable life at PwC with all intelligent people. And then I end up in the industrial laundry in the factory because I did an internship and had to do all the jobs in the factory. And at a certain moment in time, I was really counting the things that are to be cleaned, a full day and a full week. And then you ask yourself, my God. And then everybody was laughing at me, obviously, because working for an industrial laundry was probably the most stupid idea that you could possibly think of. And then you have to recharge yourself. That's what, like, okay, now I made a choice. There's no way back. I have to continue, and then you're resilient. You just continue, and then you rebuild yourself, and then you make something cool out of it, and it appears to be very cool. But that was really a recurrent element.
Interesting.
And that's.
Were you able to, because if it's recurrent, predicting the future is just knowing the past, if you ask me. Were you able to counter that, like, after a while when you start noticing a pattern?
Well, it's only a pattern. It was only so the laundry, the media business, only 3 times. So before that,
Okay.
it's now that and now stopped Google, and that you can post-rationalize, think of what happens. But when I started in the media business, I didn't think at all about my experience in the laundry, but I had it again. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And my first month at Google was definitely complicated, and I also thought, well, I'm not sure was this a good idea, but it was better. I think when you age, you become a bit more calm and
grounded,
and you can oversee that better. When you're young, you think that if you make one error in your career, you're over, and that's not true. You still when you're young, you can do a stupid thing and then find something else. But I wanted to be this perfection, so I thought when I do that choice, it has to be the perfect choice. So what I would say to my younger self is, you know what, don't stress that much. Enjoy, take the challenges, do that, but relax. And so I had a lot of stress, and I suffered of stress diseases when I was around the 30s. I was really So it was not only a easy journey. So on Saturday I was sick. So I worked a week, and on Saturday I was sick because of the stress down on not every Saturday, but a lot of Saturdays I had a hard time. So
it comes with, I think also it comes with high achieving that you just need to be able to be able to handle stress. So for you guys out there listening, you're not alone.
No. And in that time, it's not that long ago, but there was no attention for well-being, work-life balance, blah, blah, blah. There was nothing of those words were even mentioned.
I'm sorry, but I personally think work-life balance is such a bullshit thing.
I just say, I call it the work-life mayonnaise. Because you have to have a mix of a good private life and a good work life, and it's a mix, and you have to balance from one to the other. It's not one life and another life. It's one.
Exactly.
So your life is a mayonnaise that you make with ingredients, and ingredients is your personal life and your.
I also because work life implies that working is not living.
Yeah, that's completely.
That's complete bullshit. You spend 2/3 of your time working, then better have a passion and enjoy it. So that it is life, Well, of course, also family and friends and all of that, but it's 100%.
So completely agree
so
on
much
that. I was just mentioning that those words that are now so trendy were not existing. Well-being, which I believe well-being is a good one, was not on the agenda in the 90s.
Yeah, but I also feel that when I talk to my generation, so I'm 29, I like millennials, Gen Z, even a lot harder, they've got great ideas. They really leverage internet way better than millennials even and boomers, the things that they do now. I feel like there's never been so many young millionaires in any point in time than now, 23-year-old guys, self-made millionaire, what?
Yeah.
Crazy! That's amazing! But I do feel that one thing that is missing is the ability to charge and to keep on pushing and to taking the shit until going through the rain until the obstacles clear and you can see the sunshine. I think that's massively important. Oh my god, an hour is too short again. I'm having the 1 hour format. I'm thinking if rethinking, still finding my voice here. So unfortunately we've come to the end. Very interesting conversation, Thierry. Thank you so much. Are there any last words? Because we've been a little bit in the past, maybe to wrap it up a little bit. What are the goals and the ambitions? Very short. Where are we going to?
Well, I decided to pull the plug of Google to be open to look for, take time to think about different opportunities. And that's so comfortable. It's more comfortable to have a daily challenge when you don't have one. For me, it's uncomfortable, but that's also interesting. So the plan is not to have a plan. So I have a kind of plan, which is not having a plan.
Okay.
For the
okay.
next 3 months or something, maybe longer, but the idea is around 3 months. But it's not that I'm not doing anything. So for the moment, I'm putting more time in my business angel role, what I've always been doing, but in the after hours and weekends. So now I'm taking some more time on that. And I continue the keynotes around my book to talk about digitalization, but also try to defend democracy. I think that we are in a moment in time with a very risky moment on democracy.
Yeah.
We are, it's terrible because we have built such a sophisticated, interesting society where if you look at Belgium, we really live where in the quality of life that we have now compared to years before, it's just unbelievably. But the people are not convinced of that because of the media is telling you every day how much disaster is in the world or the bad things about being in Belgium, about the weather and the tax and whatever, the negative things. Nobody's talking about the positive things. Nobody's talking about the fact that there's less unemployment than ever before in history in Belgium. Never. We have the least employment ever. We are more people and definitely more women at work than never before. We have, if you count what the wealth, it's not a well-being, but the wealth is just amazing. And we start to solve problems like, climate change is a hard one, but you feel that there start to be solutions for that. The healthcare has never been as sophisticated and performant than it is today. But that's something that nobody's talking about.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about it. You only talk about the disasters, the problems. Yeah? And therefore, people are voting populists.
Yeah.
And when you vote populist, you ruin society. So we are ruining this amazing model that we have built. It's not perfect, and that's the problem. And the populists are always fighting, showing what is not perfect. But it's like having 8 out of 10 in you are a student and you come home with an 8 out of 10 on your school results. And then the parents are supposed to say, that's amazing, fantastic, you did really well. What Flemish parents are doing is they look at why you don't have 10. And your grading on English is not that good. By the way, you have 10 out of 10 on mathematics, but you have only 5 on English. By the way, that's what's happened with me. And so I was considered completely stupid because I was having bad numbers on language, while I was exceptional on mathematics and on physics. But I was on average, I was only average. And instead of saying you're amazing in mathematics and in physics, so do something with it, and we'll manage the language. They said, well, you have a problem with language. And so in our society, we are 8 out of 10 definitely on quality of life on every metric. But when you look at those problems that we have, but there are poor people in Belgium. Yes, there are poor people in Belgium. We have to solve that. But there are less poor people. Oh, there are rich people and less rich people. Yeah, that's true. But we are the country in the world which is the best redistributing the money ever. Of all countries, we're the best. It's not good enough because we still have poor people, but we are the best. So talking about all these positive things, once again, helps the people to understand that we can solve the other problems. If you only look at the problems, you don't think that we can solve anything.
The thing is, and I might be wrong in this, but I don't know if I'm wrong in this, but like people have a tendency for drama. People love drama. You can be very dramatic about problems, but you cannot be very dramatic about solutions.
Yes, you can, but it's harder. You can tell stories.
Yeah.
What the people want to hear are stories. Yeah. They don't want to hear disasters all the time. For example, a lot of millennials don't want to read the newspapers anymore because they are fed up of the bad news that are in newspapers. Yeah. So it's not true that the people are only wanting to hear bad news. You have to be aware of the bad news because of the tiger. You told the story in the beginning of the podcast. You can always be eaten by a tiger. But people love stories, and those stories can be positive stories. And I can assure you that people love to hear those stories, but I think media have a great responsibility that they always tell the bad stories. But also policy people, the politicians tend to also, they kill themselves because they only think about the problems. They always talk about the problems, and they always competitive, so they talk about the problems of the one party is telling the problems of the other party. Nobody is telling you a good story. Or they don't tell it in the right way, and so it's not landing in the media. So the responsibility of every one of us is not to be naive. It's a complicated world. We have the challenge of Ukraine. We have the challenge of energy, climate change. But if we believe in a better future, we can maybe solve it. If you don't believe in it and you vote populist, then definitely we will not solve it.
I feel your very positive, futuristic vision, which is amazing, and I think that's one of the best notes that we can wrap it up. For the people at home listening in the car, wherever, subscribe, hit that like button. I'm still not very smooth at this. I don't know what buttons to push, but just push them all.
No, not the dislike button.
Not the dislike button. Yes, don't push that one. Don't push that one. And then to have a closure, Thierry, it was nice to meet you.
Well, I'm very. Thank you for organizing this. I think it was an interesting conversation. Thank you for what you're doing.
I think it was a very nice conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Send the link to me as well, so that I can like it. Otherwise, and I can share it as well.
Yes. All right. See you very soon.
See you. Bye. Yeah.